Commission Officer Paul Bridgewater, reporting for the Ministry of Communications and Works. In this edition of the GIS report, we have another update with the Director of Public Works Department, Mr. Jeremy Hodge. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Hodge.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be back here, Paul.
Yes, and on the last press conference that we had, you apologized to the public for the delay in having the asphalt plant commissioned. But festival is over, and the territory has had its fun. We have threw all kind of paint and water on the streets and all that stuff. So we want to know what's the next steps for the asphalt plant.
Yes, Paul, thank you for asking that question. I'm pleased to be back here to report that the technician who will be responsible for commissioning the plant has arrived. He landed in the BVI yesterday afternoon. He's now on site with members of my team. He's now doing all his system checks while the Public Works Department has done their part to get the plant up. He now has to do his part. So right now he's there doing his checks with his notepad. All the different things he needs to address. He's there with members of my team who will begin learning the plant from today.
Nice. So basically, he's here to do all the checks on the system and then train all the staff so that they can do those checks moving forward.
Yes.
What can the public expect moving forward in terms of roads being fixed and how the process would go for those roads to be fixed in a holistic manner?
Yes. Thank you for that question, Paul. What you can expect now is that sometime next week we expect to be batching our first load of asphalt. Mm-hmm. With that asphalt, we'll be doing some test runs with some potholes and what have you. What you can also expect is that although a lot of our roads, Paul, in some areas, the challenge is drainage. And what needs to happen with those roads, some of those roads, they will require contracts to go out to address the drainage on some of these roadways. Mm-hmm. Good news is that Government of Virgin Islands has tendered the roadway from just after the abattoir, Paraquita Bay, mm-hmm. to the Hodges Creek Marina area. That stretch of road went out to tender. And drainage and everything will be addressed through the issuance of that contract. When that contract is finished, it will be a concrete surface. And of course, Public Works will follow with the asphalt surface. And that alone will be a major savings for the government of the Virgin Islands. On those other roads, Paul, we have some roads that I know the public complain about frequently having potholes, reoccurring potholes, such as the Paraquita Bay there by the college. We have some other areas like even out at Little Apple Bay, out at Carrot Bay, some areas of East End. There are a number of areas after the floods of 2019, they were washed away. There just wasn't any road. And we had to go out to make sure the roads were motorable, especially for emergency vehicles, especially at a time like that. And we had to use what was available to us. In most instances, not the best material. So we have a lot of sponge in that material that's underneath the asphalt will soak up the water up to the surface of the asphalt. And then you have pothole because now it compromises the asphalt. In some of those areas where we cannot help the drainage, what we can do is be more responsive at a quicker time to make it bearable to drive until they are addressed. Just to note that we selected that first portion of road to be done because we have to continue the sewage works in the eastern Longlook area. We've submitted the designs from the Hodges Creek Marina to the Seventh-day Church in Eastern because the sewage works are completed there as well. Mm-hmm. And then from then on, the sewage works will continue so that we can submit the designs moving forward and so forth. So we do have a plan and we're moving forward. We do have some roads, asphalt roads in town that we're aiming to address first. Mm-hmm. Now that we have our plant, my team is already on the ground to address the area between the Botanic Gardens Junction through the bridge there by the UP's Cineplex. Mm-hmm. We have to remove the surface of that road, address the subsurface. My surveyors out there making sure the levels are in place so that the road, make sure that the water hits to the drain. We have already communicated with the utilities companies such as Flow. We don't want to hit any of the fiber optics, any of their lines. So we have a map from them on where their infrastructure is. We have already asked Water and Sewage to highlight where their manholes are so that our machine doesn't hit those manholes, because the milling machine has teeth as it grinds up the asphalt. And if it hits one of those manholes, it will damage the machine, right? The teeth. So we're well on our way. That's just one of the many roads that we plan to address. We will be continuously addressing roads throughout this year, going into next year, God's willing, and we'll keep moving forward until we address all those roads that we need to in the territory, including, of course, our sister islands. They will not be left out.
Definitely. I definitely look forward to having more motorable roads on Virgin Islands. We definitely need that. So it's nice to hear that these roads are being dealt with in a holistic approach, and to see that everybody's involved, like everybody that has a stake in those roads are contacted and given the proper time to give you the feedback that you need to do your job properly.
Right.
In terms of maintenance, what is being done to maintain this state-of-the-art asphalt plant on the government's behalf?
Lovely question, Paul. The beauty about this state-of-the-art plant is that it's connected to the internet, where it will be communicating with the manufacturer. The manufacturer will be able to read how many working hours the plant has undergone. If there's a potential failure, they will detect it before, and they'll be able to communicate with us. And with that said, we're going to have a service arrangement for the plant to make sure that they can come whether once or twice a year to service the plant as required. They're only a phone call away, because the medium we use to get the plant is right here in the Virgin Islands, right here in Tortola. And we will have access to these persons when we need, in the event of a failure. But the beauty about it is that they'll be monitoring the plant on a daily basis, and they'll be able to tell us what's going on with the plant. Nice. And I thank the IT department who came out to make sure that apparatus was hooked up so that the plant can make those communications. Thank the BVIEC Corporation who came out, because in setting up the plant, we needed them. And it has been quite a long journey. And all those persons that worked along with us to help us get where we are now, getting ready to commission the plant, Paul.
Nice. So after the years I was sitting at where it is now, it's nice to see that it's coming to fruition. All the work is being done, and the public can look forward to these roads being walked on in a timely and more responsive manner. So closing, what would you like to say to the public to give them a reassurance that the Public Works Department is doing whatever it has to do to ensure that the roads in the territory and the infrastructure is up to date?
Okay. What I also like to mention, I know there'll be a lot of anxiety, but we will get around to all those roads, including your community in the different districts. We will get there. We're also in communication with some technicians overseas, just to work along with my guys to brush them up with persons that have been paving roads for some time, to give them a little more exposure on techniques. I spoke to a gentleman just last week who operates in the region, and he was more than happy to extend his services. The good thing, too, that will help to manage the cost even with that is that we have all the equipment required. When he had read out his checklist on the equipment that we have, so that to determine if he needs to bring equipment or if we had the adequate equipment. And we do have the equipment to carry out the works. But it's things like just learning to operate the machines in a more precise manner. Things like that. He said he wants to go over with the guys, giving them advice, bringing some of his guys that work on the ground to work with them. And of course, that's something we will invite. And also to mention, when those persons come at that time, we will be reaching out to the rated program to have persons who have heavy equipment license, or persons who about to get their heavy equipment license or has an interest to learn how to rake the asphalt, how to work asphalt, how to build asphalt roads, to come at that time while those persons are here to learn. And what that will do is open the door for you to, if you have your trade license, we can invite you to bid on working with us. Or if employment opens for us to hire you, you would already have that training. So that's what I'll probably close in saying, Paul, at this time.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Hodge, for sharing your information. And once again, we're going to issue that call to the public or anyone that's interested to sign up to the rated program and get in on, the works that are being done with this asphalt plant on our roads in the community moving forward. So I want to thank you for listening to this edition of the GIS report. I'm Information Officer Paul Bridgewater, reporting for the Ministry of Communications and Works. For timely and accurate information, please follow GIS at www.bvi.gov.vg. You can follow us on Facebook at BVI Government or YouTube at GIS BVI. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.